Last year I produced a full-length 90-minute documentary about my journey with a bicycle caravan, completely on my own. In today's video I show you how I filmed it, how I planned it, how the story developed, what happens in editing, and how some effects and animations were created. Alright, most films have 3 phases: pre-production, production and post-production. But this isn't just any film. I had no idea what the final product would be. I had a budget of around 500 euros for which I bought super simple equipment and then just got started. Well, of course I did plan a few things beforehand, like the morning routine scene at the beginning for the contrast between the monotonous but comfortable daily life and later problems. And also that some scenes are very similar to Magnolia, Better Call Saul or Mr. Robot. And also the music was roughly picked out in advance. And the rest comes as it comes. Well, to film you need one thing: a camera. Or in my case, 6 cameras. First, a very rundown GoPro Hero 9, very compact and captures really good footage in good light, even though it's quite old by now. And with accessories you can also mount it super easily in various places, whether on the back of the trailer, the handlebars or the head. This here is the Feiyutech Pocket 2, basically a small portable gimbal similar to those in drones. It has one big advantage: the footage is very stable and you can easily change perspectives. That's why I mostly had this lightweight thing mounted on the handlebars and I could just press record while riding. But the image quality and especially the audio quality aren't that great. So I had to redub almost all the footage from this thing. As the main camera and sometimes for editing I used my smartphone. Well, until this happened. But this used to be a Samsung Note 20 Ultra. For a smartphone it delivers really good video quality and even has a pretty decent 5x zoom. As backup I had the Samsung A6 from 2018, but the camera here is almost unusable. Similar to this old 360-degree camera from Samsung, you can get very creative shots with it, but the quality isn't really enough for more than a few small fun shots. To compensate, I also packed a compact drone, the DJI Mavic Mini, but its used condition is also already showing. But with the external app Litchi, you can also unlock some extra features, without which I couldn't have operated it alone. See, for drones you usually have this controller for normal controls, which isn't ideal for riding. But this app can automate the controls, so you can set the drone to follow the GPS signal of the smartphone at a certain distance, or fly around a point. So with relatively little effort you can get very nice footage from this thing, even though unpacking, launching and landing takes quite some time. And since I'm not with a huge camera crew, I have to do all the camera work on the side. And yes, it looks pretty silly, but what won't you do for a good shot? Now I've collected 500 gigabytes of footage from the 6 cameras over the 2 months, all with different resolutions and different colors. And a lot of the footage is simply boring and unusable. So I already started sorting while traveling, trimming footage and organizing everything by events and days. At least with my editing software DaVinci Resolve, it only takes a few minutes. I can just drag everything into a timeline, trim it how I want and then export all the clips individually, sorted within seconds. Well, and now I somehow want to tell my story with it. But there are still 13 hours of raw footage, mostly me riding through fields and despairing. How on earth do you make something exciting out of this? There are a few theories behind what makes a good story, but I don't really have a fixed script. So I decided to split the whole movie into 6 chapters, each covering different themes and are almost self-contained. I'm of course somewhat bound to the chronological order, although there's some wiggle room and some clips weren't exactly in the right order. But one thing is clear, for me a day always takes 24 hours. But for you I can adjust that from 20 seconds to 4 minutes, depending on how interesting the footage is for the bigger story. The pacing of the whole film is really just determined by the music. I have my big ass collection of different emotions and moods I want to convey, and the story literally follows the beat of the music. Well, and sometimes the other way around. Music producers would probably kill me for this. Of course, during my journey, I also thought about narrating a bit.
I first have to recharge my energy.
But to join everything together, it still needs a voiceover. So join me on my small spontaneous studio here. And yes, this here is behind the curtain. And so it goes on day by day in editing for around 5 months. First there's a very rough cut, very long clips, then all the trash gets thrown out, and it's compressed more and more so that in the end we have a nice watchable product. I try to tell it as authentically as possible with all the ups and downs. Well, I would have liked to show more of the ups, the abundance of wonderful people I got to meet, but strangely these are the exact moments where the last thought is to press the record button and you just live in the moment. But of course, with this movie, as with the adventure, not everything has gone to plan. The idea of making this movie at all basically died after the first week, because it's just not manageable in practice to reach your daily goal, get nice footage, narrate, and still find time to interact with all kinds of people and soak up their wisdom. But I'm glad that somehow this project came to be, and that I could at least halfway tell you this story. Well, we are not entirely finished. As they say, 50% of the work goes into the last 5% of each project. I thought maybe I would finish a chapter every 1 to 2 weeks. And here we are, 1 whole year later. Post-production actually took 5 months, even though a lot of other stuff happened in between. But also all the small things like sound effects, color grading, text and graphics, subtitles, and of course 3D animations and Easter eggs. All that takes time until it's almost perfect. On top of that, to my dismay, I had to redub a lot of things, especially for the English version. Getting this version to work with a slightly different structure compared to the German one was quite a challenge. So maybe this video should have been called How I Produced 2 feature movies all on my own. Well, and what's next? The list of future videos is long. There's all kinds of stuff that didn't fit into this film, especially what other countries can learn from the cycling mentality in the Netherlands. I'll try to cover various urbanist topics and learnings on this channel. But very soon actually, like in today, I will continue traveling. And a bigger, better documentary is coming out later this year, if everything goes as planned. So it's definitely worth it to subscribe, and you can also follow along my journey on Instagram, where I give daily updates. And the reality is, all of this costs money. And if you want to give back and support me and my journey further, I at least want to give you the possibility to do so, so I've launched a Ko-fi page. Here you can find all sorts of behind the scenes images, videos and posts. And if you're really sure you want to support me financially, you can do so either on a monthly basis or once for as little as €1. In exchange, you can watch every video 1 week before and give me personal feedback. And all of this allows me to continue making these videos and put them out for free without ads on YouTube. I hope you had fun with this video and have a nice rest of your day. See you soon.